learning to feel at home anywhere, and then as a subtitle, digital experiential learning as a tool to facilitate cosmopolitanism and how learning can be investigated with virtual action learning. So quite a long the title. I'll try to squeeze everything in there. It will be a theoretical and research programmatic presentation I've planned and prepared for you today. So the methods from my PhD project transferred into the topic of the conference here. I'll try or aim to answer 3 questions. What challenges result from a post-digital cosmopolitanism? How can the learning of a feeling, so to feel at home anywhere, in an uncertain and digital environment be realized? What methods may be of help there? And then lastly, how can a learning, specifically to feel at home anywhere, be evaluated in a way that caters for ontological and epistemological realities? Therefore, the agenda for the next now 14 minutes, I will look at the intertwined phenomena of virtuality and reality. I will then argue that this makes learning to be cosmopolitical in an uncertain environment even harder, which asks for a new or special way of learning. Thus, experiential learning will be briefly presented because I believe the approach is holistic and allows to learn a feeling before we tackle then the final question of how learning can be investigated. So let's start with the intertwined phenomena and the consequences of this. The intertwined phenomena of virtuality and reality. Of course, the consequences are infinite, and I've only selected the ones I thought that are the most suitable for this question, also with a tendency to be a little bit provocative. So anonymity and individualization are the first consequences due to this interconnection. And I might feel in this world a little bit more anonymous than only in reality, aliases and so on. And also my individual values and beliefs are much more catered for in this time nowadays. Aspects of communication are reduced through digitality, and the quality of communication, the informal communication is also reduced. The markedness, so how specific a situation is, and the content may also lack a little bit. Of course, all 4 aspects have an interconnection. Social processes in general are accelerated through digitality. We also have the phenomenon of tribalism, so basically stronger in-group building in this environment. Social voids are created, but also filled. So I may feel, due to social networks, more alone on the one hand, because I might feel left out, but also there's always a group for my special interests, and therefore my social void is also maybe filled. So a little bit of paradox here. We also see the spatial turn in this intertwined virtuality and reality be consistent. So social spaces and how they show social realities are also found in virtuality, and how virtuality depicts social relationships, of course, influences then the social realities as well. I know this virtuality versus reality, I said it's intertwined, so please excuse if I, for clarity, try to draw this a little bit out of each other. The digital divide also plays a factor. Surveillance, control, manipulation are driving alienation, and last but not least, creation of filter bubbles that are increasingly hard to penetrate can be found as well. So takeaway here, the line between virtuality and reality is blurry. The demarcation results in a challenge for digital cosmopolitanism, obviously due to all those factors, but also increases its necessity, right? So if we feel and act anonymously, act more and more to only our own beliefs, individual beliefs and values, if our communication lacks quality, if tribalism and social voids increase, if the digital divide grows, and if alienation keeps growing on us, last but not least, if we can't get out of our filter bubbles. I know I'm exaggerating here, but how is it then possible to become cosmopolitical, to feel at home anywhere? It seems like a paradoxon created through these developments. We need this more and more, yet it becomes harder and harder. I will try to quickly define digital, or mainly cosmopolitanism. I'm drawing from Fergal Lenihan's paper mainly. I know I'm probably preaching to the choir here, so let me be as brief as possible. What stuck out to me is it's about coming into contact with someone else in order to reassess and revalue what I think is normal. Delanty then also adds to it that there is a transformation in self-understanding. So I also transform how I perceive myself via the engagement with others. So the engagement with others here as a theme, learning from the other through self-problematization. Cosmopolitanism becomes part of an active process of rethinking form and boundaries of reality. So cosmopolitanism is to be found more in, not so much in individuals, but in collective identity processes, in debates, narratives, forms of cognition, networks of communication. So I highlighted here reassessing, learning, rethinking. This is what it takes, right? This is what we need to, in order to become or to create cosmopolitanism. The question now is, how can this be achieved? Especially debates, networks of communication. So the other and also communication with the other, critical learning are the two main themes here. The nature of the phenomenon, which is important in my opinion, it's a process, right? It's fluid and it takes time. And the process is maybe the thing that as a picture can stick in our minds when we look at how this can be strengthened. I want to introduce experiential learning. Learning as the process described by Kolb, where knowledge is created through transformation of experience. Knowledge results from combination of grasping and transforming experience. So if we want to speak of learning, both is needed. I'll introduce this whole circle just in a minute, but we need the experience, but we also, in order to speak of knowledge, we need this experience to be transformed. Experience as the taking in of information, and transforming then is how individuals interpret this information and then change their further actions on the basis of this interpretation. It can be understood as a cyclical union of two opposites, dialectics in experiencing and dialectics in transforming this experience. Experience here, on the one side, arises through a concrete experience of a situation, and on the other hand, through the abstract conceptualization of this experience. Transformation then, through reflection of a certain experience, or through deriving new impulses for action for future similar experiences. So the manifestation of one dialectic can support the manifestation of the other, creating a spiral of learning. Direct experience is the basis for observation and reflection. This reflection is then distilled into abstract concepts from which new implications and instruments for action can be generated, and those are then actively tested and thus serve as a basis for new experiences. And to put this maybe more into perspective, how this can look like for digital cosmopolitanism, I prepared a little example, how to learn and to feel at home. Let's assume this can take place like this. The experience could be the participation in the program The World Talks. Two individuals with diverse worldviews, backgrounds are matched, and they then reflect, they talk with each other over a period of time, and they then reflect in, for example, online groups, in a structured debriefing on this experience, and or they fill out learning journals. And those themes that emerge there are then explained or part of the abstract conceptualization. For example, if we talk about a digital environment, videos can be used on how perception works, communication theories can be provided, etc. And then last but not least, for the active experimentation, there is the transfer necessary. So the transfer of the learnings into the own world. What would I do next time I don't feel, for example, connected to someone in the beginning because I know this person might be different than I have different views. Now the question is, how can we make sure that this growth in cosmopolitanism actually took place and actually happened? So how to evaluate learning or decrease? In this scenario, we as researchers are facilitators. So we act on something because we see a problem that we want to change. So the first part is action on a commonly defined problem, for example, digital cosmopolitanism. Then I investigate. So where was I successful? What maybe new needs are popping up? And then I adapt my behavior, my action, until I'm satisfied with the results of my actions. So action research is a form of inquiry that enables teaching, education practitioners to investigate and evaluate their work. One can ask, what am I doing? What do I need to improve? And how to improve it. Special and for me appealing, especially for this context now, is the following and the values of action research. There is a clear ontological commitment. It's value-laden, morally committed. It has a clear goal. Action research also perceives knowledge creation as a collaborative process. So we can think of here the experiential learning cycle again. And then the methodological commitments, the method is open-ended and developmental. So the process of generating knowledge never stops. And social commitments, action research aims to create good social orders by influencing social foundations. Action research has quite a variety of forms, but we want to dive deeply into learning. So we'll look primarily at virtual action learning because this suits the context the most. Cho and Egan present in their systematic literature review the current state of current action learning themes. I brought the main two with me for you here. Virtual action learning is underutilized and is only recently getting attention due to the pandemic, and facilitation is key. So the role of the facilitator is very important. This person enables learning and is the one that acts. So what do we do? And what do we need to watch out for when doing virtual action inquiry? What makes quality, because we all agree that objectivity, reliability, and so on can't really match the prerequisites of this methodological approach. First of all, we engage with problems. How to strengthen digital cosmopolitanism would be such a problem. Collaboration is, for me as a facilitator, as important as for the humans I work with. So who has expertise? Who can I go to for inputs, or who can generate ideas? Reflection also. So how do I act as a facilitator? What have I positively or negatively influenced? And then actionable outcomes and the transfer of those actionable outcomes. Expert groups, practitioners, the people I have done research with, not on, this is important here. This allows for transferability. Ideas for and implications for research, and also my conclusion. I know I'm really stretching the time here. First of all, the demarcation effects of the entangledness of virtuality and reality cause the necessity for digital cosmopolitanism, but also challenge the implementation. So the already mentioned twofold or paradox here. The learning of a feeling, example, to feel at home anywhere in an uncertain and digital environment, can be realized via collective experience and self-reflection. And the evaluation of learning relies on the same principles as the learning itself, should be solution-oriented. Collective cooperation is a key here, so to always check with stakeholders. And then also it should be, the evaluation should be self-reflecting and thus then self-transforming as well. Thank you so much for your attention. In case you want to read up, here's the bibliography, and I'm happy to discuss your remarks